thank you so much for joining me and watching today. In today's Uncut video, I am going to be answering some of your recent astrological questions, especially about the nodes. Now, let's just jump right in. Okay, so one of you asked, what are your thoughts on North Node in Sagittarius? I love you all with the North Node in Sagittarius. You're coming from these past lives, which we're all about sort of like socialization and striking up quick conversation and like developing your personality and being liked, and sort of like, I don't know, the Gemini energy is just, it's a beautiful energy, but this lifetime is like so different. North Node in Sagittarius, it's North Node in Gemini, or the South Node in Gemini. It's kind of about like tuning into the conversation of like what's popular and like what's trending. And there were always topics like that. Even though your past lives might have been in 1800 or 1600, there was always news. There was always the hot topic, and that was what you were tuning into, and you were learning to connect with people like on a superficial level, not totally superficial, but like a surface level. Like you were learning to connect in prior lives with like everyone and be just popular and well liked, and just, you know, talk about the weather and just whatever's trending and this and that. In this life, you're in search now of deeper meaning. You are on a quest to find God. You are on a quest to be able to access knowledge that is for only the initiated. So this is not about like the headlines. This is not about what is trending. There are many circles of mystical knowledge that are only available to the select few, and you are on the quest for that type of knowledge. One of the biggest things for North Node in Sagittarius is to learn to speak the truth, because in your prior incarnations you had to learn, like, to a certain extent, how to manipulate, not necessarily for bad reasons, but you had to learn how to be well liked. And often that means like telling people what they want to hear or presenting information in a way that's attractive to them. And often you're conditioned that way early in this life as well. And one of the boldest things you can do, and this will actually liberate you, like on the work front, in your relationships, is speak the truth. That's one of the core foundations of the North Node in Sag. I just want to make sure I'm answering the question. What are your thoughts on the North Node in Sag? Slow down. I often find in people with this North Node, a lot of them are my friends, for sure. I've had a lot of close friends with this North Node. They want quick, 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 quick. They're used to Gemini. Quick, 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 quick. I text you, text me back right away. Oh, I matched with someone. Let's go on a date right now. No. No. Give it time. Gemini is shooting across town to pick up something at the store. Sagittarius is getting on that boat and sailing across the world. You know, it's a different sort of pace. Go on the journey. Relax. Meditate. Now, I'm not gonna spend too much time on that. You'll either do it or you won't, but that's one of the most life-changing things for North Node in Sagittarius, is learn to clear your mind. Travel can be really good. Travel is very lucky for North Node in Sagittarius. I think part of the reason why is travel just wipes away the superficial aspects. Like, wow, like, do we ever sort of find our soul when we're in a new culture and language is taken away? Who are we? You know, and it gets us like in touch with that core humanity. But yeah, generally, like, I love North Node in Sagittarius. It's a Jupiter ruled North Node. I have North Node in Pisces, which is also Jupiter ruled. So if you're looking to interpret your North Node in Sagittarius, it's really important to look at the house placement. That's an area where you're particularly in search of the truth in your chart. Whenever you guys ask me these questions, I always want to see your charts like so bad and help you like interpret, you know, what it means for you. But yeah, look to the house placement in whole sign houses, and then look to the house placement of your natal Jupiter for more clues on the interpretation. But this person also asked, would South Node in Gemini make someone bored with speaking? Not necessarily bored, but the attractiveness of those superficial conversations, the amount of energy and satisfaction it gives you will diminish over time. And you'll start to crave more depth, especially if you're on your path. So you can get, I guess you could get bored, like just bored discussing like the same old, you know what I mean? But true conversation, deep conversation, philosophical conversation, spiritual conversation should fill you up. I mean, to each their own. I see a lot of social anxiety in South Node in Gemini, North Node in Sag. I see a lot of people putting pressure on themselves to have like these great interactions. So I definitely see not just social anxiety, but I see a lot of anxiety generally with this placement. Often people remember like, wait, wasn't there a time where I felt like really, really good? You know, like winning that social engagement or being well liked, even if it was superficial. Why don't I find that fulfillment anymore? And that can be unsettling, especially like if a person doesn't know the nodes, you know what I mean? Because like we're all living, but most of us aren't living with a knowledge of our astrology. So like a person who had that as their South Node can get really confused. We do live in like a Gemini loving culture, at least like here in the US, like in 2024, Mars just moved into Gemini. I mean, Jupiter's there, but like the TikTok era is a Gemini era. So it does take courage to pursue the Sagittarius path. But yeah, Sagittarius to-do list, travel to a different culture where you don't speak the language. Try meditation, visit a temple, like especially some kind of religious or spiritual place that's different than the one that you were raised in. I think that can be like a really good experience. Find a friend or family member that you can be totally honest with, and don't tell them what they want to hear. Tell them the truth. So those are a few things. One of you who has been a very loyal subscriber asked me to rank the houses. I cannot do this, like, so I kind of avoided this for a really long time. The quality of a particular house, I will comment on some of the good houses, right? But like the quality of a particular house is dependent on the planets which fall in that house, and then the like chart ruler as a whole. So for example, for me, like my favorite house in my chart might be the 8th house. My sun is there, Mercury and Venus. For most people, like many people fear the 8th house. Many people do. But even my own content, like on the 8th house, is my most popular content on YouTube because I love it so much. So it really depends on like where certain planets fall in your chart. I think generally, like if I was just gonna see, is someone like having an easy incarnation? There is no such thing, but like, I guess I would look to the 2nd house. I mean, that tells you the state of their material possessions. I think it's a good house if you have good planets. The 2nd house, I mean, it's gonna bring money and material resources, and that tends to help. Not always, I mean, definitely not always though. Because like if they have an afflicted 12th house or something, they may suffer mentally. But I think like good houses, 2nd house, 5th house tends to be good, right? It's pleasure, children, romance. But like for me, I have just malefics in the 5th house, like Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. I don't experience any benefits to any 5th house topics, at least not so far in my life. Like Now that's like probably a really bad thing to say, because some people might say like YouTube is 5th house, like holding space like for the best of the 5th house, but like even though it's a really good house, like in my chart it's afflicted. So I think like really, like I think everyone has their own experience with the houses. So there, I mean, there's classical answers to this question. So like the classical answers would be like a good house is the 9th. That's where we find God, or the 11th. Wishes, hopes, dreams, people who can help you get there. So, but that's not my personal opinion. Like if I was gonna design like just like a life that was like really, really good, I would probably like light up the 7th house and the 2nd and like the 5th, because I think like a life with creativity and abundance and good one-on-one relationships could be like a really good life for me. But it just depends on like what is good for you and what like your soul wants and desires. But yeah, like I have been thinking about like doing more content. I did one like where I just like cast a random chart. It was fake, but then I like did a reading of the chart, like, so that maybe I'll link that if I can find it. But I did that earlier this year. But yeah, like if this person, you know who you are, like if you want to provide your chart, like I can tell you which houses are the best. I could put an anonymized version on the screen. So sometimes you guys post comments and then if I don't respond the same day, you delete them. I love and respect whatever you choose, but please don't do that. Like, I'm not always able to like get back right away. But sometimes like really, really good comments and questions are lost actually. So these ones though, I actually screenshotted them because I noticed this person doing that a lot. And I was like, these are really good questions. I want to keep them. So I will do my part, but please just know, like, even if I don't love or like or respond to a comment right away, it doesn't mean that like I don't like it or love it. It just sometimes, like I am a coach and I am a psychic, like professionally, and I give my full attention to my clients. Like, so some days I do like a lot of readings and I don't check YouTube comments at all, but it's not because I don't care. It's just because like I'm devoting myself fully to whoever I'm working with that day. Anyway, so, okay, so this person they said they liked the part about life planning and destiny in one of my videos. Yeah, I love that topic. It was like I know so much about that, or I mean, I guess like how could you ever know enough? But I definitely get I definitely like have a passion for that. But anyway, the person said, as far as Scorpio goes, love me some Scorpio. And I don't even have any Scorpio, like by sign. I mean, everyone has Scorpio ruling a certain place in their chart, and for me it's the 3rd house. All I have there is Pluto. But I have some mad respect. Like I would say, like I've got mad respect for Scorpio. But she asked, is it true that people with a lot of Scorpio in their chart have very intense eyes and intense stares? Yes. I mean, yeah, I would definitely say so. Like, yeah, like they will look deep into your soul. I mean, Scorpio people are penetrating. I mean, it depends what it is, but if it's like Venus in Scorpio or something, I mean, they're patient. In my experience, but they'll watch you for a long time and they'll wait. But when you're ready, they'll connect. They'll connect deeply. I think a Scorpio person, like, or Venus in Scorpio or Jupiter in Scorpio, I mean, I don't even know what to even say. Like, I don't even know what to even say, but yes, there can be an intense stare. It's not just a stare though. I mean, it's a presence overall. Scorpio kind of like dissolves boundaries. But I mean, Scorpio as a sign traditionally was Mars ruled, and I mean, there's a passion for sure. Like, oh my gosh, Scorpio. One more question. Okay. This person said the South Node usually represents past lives or some kind of karma that was started in a past life and needs to be completed in this one. I believe that. So not everyone believes in past lives. I mean, there could be some souls walking around that don't believe because they never were incarnated before. Most of us have, it is my sense, most of us have been around the block a few times. I definitely have. I definitely have. But so, yeah, so I think that the South Node, often like we would have found it as maybe the North Node or the Sun sign or a stellium sign of the chart of a prior life. So like, let's say for example, right now, let's say your South Node is Gemini, since someone asked about that. In your prior life, you might have had a Gemini Sun conjunct Venus in the 10th house, you know, in a Leo ruled chart or something like that. Like, you just like, you really highlighted that energy in prior lives. You know, you could have had a Gemini North Node in the prior life, but not necessarily. But you just, that was an energy that you've mastered in some way or predominated in recent lives. You might have overdone it a little bit, like the sign of your South Node. That's my sense. So there's a lot of variation, and I mean, that's a huge understatement. Like, every single person here on planet Earth is having a unique experience. We are not all here for the same reason. We are not all expressing our charts in the same way. Even the exact same chart can be expressed in various ways depending on the level of consciousness of the soul who's walking the journey, etc. So there's a lot of variation. But this person brought up Vedic astrology. And in Vedic astrology, the South Node is Ketu, and it's considered to be very karmic, for better or worse. So is the South Node karmic? I would say, yeah, like in the sense that karma means like accumulated energy or accumulated patterns. Yes, like I would say the South Node is karmic. I mean, you can, like, if you were trying to like psychoanalyze a person and you could only know one aspect of that person, like their astrology, you could know one thing, and it was going to be your job to psychoanalyze that person, particularly to understand how they're going to respond under stress or pressure. The number one thing to know would be their South Node, because you can take a person's South Node and you understand, if I apply pressure to them, this is what they're going to do. So because the South Node is like ingrained patterns, and it depends on like, so the South Node, depending on when you're connecting with a person, depends on how it's going to express based on their age in life. So like, I work with people of all different ages. I would say, well, my youngest client is 9. My oldest client is about 91 or 92. So like under the age of 25 or so, a person is actually still working toward their South Node really considerably, where like if you even hint to them goals or objectives related to the North Node, it doesn't even make sense for them. Like, they're still working on the South Node really strongly. But then like as you get into like the 50s or so, like often I encourage people toward their North Node and they're like already fully there. You know, they're like, oh, I'm already doing that, that, and that, and that. So there's an evolution like throughout the life. So even if you don't believe in past lives, then I would say like the South Node is the objectives of early life. And that our parents usually condition us toward our South Node. But like, it depends, again, variation for each person, but there's often an inner craving toward the North Node, but it's often not supported in our family of origin. So it's like a private craving, and then the individuation process, like when we go out in the world and we like leave our family, often is one of having courage to step away from the conditioning of the South Node and into the North Node, very often. But yeah, I mean, I do think it's karmic. Like, I mean, in the sense that, again, karma means to me accumulated patterns or accumulated energy. But I do think, like, when we see transits to the nodes, often there's a fate or destiny. So we seem to be getting results that were not presently earned, if that makes sense, that are coming from another time or place. But yeah, I mean, the South Node, North Node, the nodes in general, they're fascinating. Most people that are really distressed are usually pursuing the South Node. Ancient astrologers recognized that energy was lost in the area of the chart where we find the South Node as the life goes on for an individual. And so I've just noticed like an obsessional quality to the South Node in certain individuals. And I think these are particularly individuals who have difficulty not solving problems. Because I often find, like, as we get older, there tends to be a loss of energy from the area of the South Node. And so if we really fixate on that, we can become really distressed. And then if we get really fixated on fixing it, it seems to be the case that it's impossible as life goes on. This seems to be the case to like become fully satisfied in the area of the South Node. So the best approach, like especially as we age, like into our 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, is to accept the loss that's occurring in the area of life indicated by the South Node. And this is mostly by house, like this, it's mostly by house in whole sign houses, like rather than it is by sign, but we mostly see it in the house. So the best, like for greatest harmony, if we can accept that, okay, the energy and passion for this house area may reduce or is likely going to reduce, or our success or satisfaction in this area of life is likely to reduce as we age. However, like our success, satisfaction, the joy we get is like likely to increase from this opposite area of our life represented by the North Node, like as we age. If we can accept that, rather than trying to fixate on like, because people do get stuck in this, like they'll fixate on the area of their life that's represented by the South Node and they keep trying to make it what it once was. But no amount of effort will ever bring back the amount of satisfaction and success that we experienced, say, when we're 20 or 25 in that area of life when we're 55. It's just not going to happen, except under very unusual circumstances, okay? But for most people, that's really not going to happen. So, I don't know, I guess, like, this is the whole reason I do the work that I do, why I'm passionate about what I do, and, like, why I believe in guiding others, I guess, because if we can match an individual with a natural acceptance of their fate, then they can proceed harmoniously through their life rather than in a state of distress. But often proceeding harmoniously means finding acceptance for the diminishment of results in the area where the South Node is. It's not just this, there's many other factors, but that's one factor. And coming into a state of finding greater acceptance and satisfaction from the area of life indicated by the North Node. And understanding that the comfort zone may not be what actually brings that true fulfillment and satisfaction now, even though it's familiar and comfortable. And also, even though people may see us that way or expect that of us, that we can become something new. So, yeah. I used to be so passionate about the nodes, and I don't know why, but I just kind of like, I took a little break from it. But thinking about it again now, it's just, the whole chart is so important. And especially like the ruler, the chart ruler, the sign that rules the ascendant, is so, 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 so key to an individual's fate and destiny. Probably as much or very close to the nodes. But the nodes reveal a lot. you know, and especially if a person's like sitting in there like, why am I here? You know, like why did my soul come here? Like, what am I learning? You know, because some people have that attitude. I mean, North Node by sign and house. Most people who have that attitude will be very triggered by their North Node by sign and house. Like if you tell them you're here to experience this, they'll be like, no, I wouldn't have come here for that. But as a matter of fact, that is what it is, you know? So, yeah. Anyway, thank you guys for these questions and all the questions. I love being able to just share my perspective with you and hopefully like just help you find information that gives you like a greater passion and acceptance for your own path and purpose so that you can walk it like more confidently and just feel more in harmony with life as it's happening. I mean, we're all here, we're all learning, we're all growing, and when we flow with our fate, I think that's when life is the best. So anyway, thank you guys so much. Thank you. Many blessings and namaste.